Welcome. I'm Janelle Kolaski, a career mindset coach and actor.
And I'm Amanda Dugo, a self-authenticity and prosperity life coach and actor as well. And we're your co-host of Mindset Artistry YouTube channel,
where we teach you the art of discovering and using your mindset
to build a career and life you desire. Welcome back to Mindset Artistry. So we have an incredible guest today, and I'm so excited because she is a native Puerto Rican like I am. I'm so excited about that. So Elaine Del Valle is a native New Yorker and Puerto Rican multi-hyphenate award-winning director and storyteller that has paved the way for Latin voices to be authentically heard. From festivals like South by Southwest, Urban World, to winning HBO Latinx Short Film Director Award, to stocking the bookshelves with her one-woman play turned novel and screenplay, to completing her invitation-only WGA Showrunner Academy program, Elaine is a force to be reckoned with. So let's give her a round of applause. Welcome, welcome. I'm so excited. Now, Elaine, let's just jump in. I know I'm so grateful that you are joining us today, because being a Latin mixed woman and female, I really value our voices being heard and shared. You know, like my grandfather, though I feel like growing up, I didn't have that. And I wished I did. I grew up in that culture, but it wasn't on TV. It wasn't talked about much, and it's unfortunate. And I didn't realize that until I started diving into this industry. And thank you for your frustration when you were working and studying as an actor in the Carnegie Hall, because you created this one-woman show. So tell me about that journey of, being a Latin woman and how that affected your drive in creating this one-woman show.
Well, I just wanted to be a great actor. So studying acting was just something that it was in my bones. I wanted to do it. So after 3 years of doing it and realizing that the parts that you're being given to work on, they're fabulous, but you're never going to get cast in them. You're never going to get even seen for them. And that's where the frustration kept growing, because, I'm a Latina who grew up in Brownsville, Brooklyn, New York. It's a predominantly Black ghetto. But looking at me, the industry did not want to accept that part of me. And so I felt very much not seen, not understood. And those things as an artist make you want to have people, you want to express yourself. And so that's what really prompted the writing. And I didn't really know what I was writing at first. And I just decided to put it on its feet one day in class. And that's when Wynn Handman, my teacher, said to me, "You must keep writing this." And that really made me understand how important it was that I keep writing it, because at the time he was in his 80s. And for him to understand the value of the work and the need for those stories, it made me understand them even more. And since then, of course, that's over 10 years ago. And I just know it more and more. The deeper I dive into the work, into my work as a writer, as a creator, as a director, as an actor, whatever I'm doing, the more I know the need for it. And I just understand it more. So.
And I appreciate that. What have you felt the challenges have been that you faced as being Latin and being a storyteller in this entertainment industry, and how have you overcome them?
Well, first as an actor, by writing my one-woman show, by doing it, it became off Broadway, and people actually got a chance to see me. So I gave them the opportunity to recognize who I was. And that was fantastic. So I faced that challenge that way. And I think every day I have to face a different challenge. I work multiple hats. My passion is directing. It's what I want to do. It's very difficult to get hired as a director. But oftentimes when they come at me, it's for ethnic stuff. It's for Latino stuff, which is fine. It's wonderful. It's great. It's not the only thing that I want to direct, right? And those jobs are few and far between. So how often am I really getting talent? So I face those challenges every day. It's who's going to want to hire me for anything, because the Latino roles are really created by Latino creators for the most part. And not that it's not as it should be, but we just need more of it. So I'm constantly facing the battle of what's the next work who's going to come at me for it? Do I have to create my own work in order for it to exist? And that has been the case. And I continue to do that in my writing, directing, as a casting director. It's my parallel track career. It's something that I do all the time. I get to see hundreds of auditions all the time and understand actors and deal with agents and managers. And I love the work. I love being a part of the fabric of deciding who gets seen and the way that the story is being told. So it's a great thing, but still, I have my regular clients. And if somebody is reaching out to me for the first time, it's usually because they want something Spanish language or depicting Latinx or Latina representation. And so, yes, I'm there. But guess what? They're not always casting for that. I mean, I could name networks that hire me only for the hardest jobs. Like when they need an 85-year-old Latina grandmother and I'm like, why do I only get this? Why can't you just give me the regular jobs that you give somebody else that's so much easier, but yet you want to pay me less? So it's a very much it's a challenge all the time, but you have to keep a great attitude, appreciate the work, and just keep growing in the direction that you want your own career path to take you. And that's what I have been doing.
It's interesting because as being a Latin woman and being just a woman in general, I feel like there is, like you said, a lack of opportunities for us. We're like pulling at teeth just to be for that opportunity that, men get while they're sleeping. They just get handed to, and it's so frustrating. And not to diminish their work, but I feel like we have to work even harder, like you said, to be seen and heard. And then, like you said, not to be valued at our worth as well financially. We should be paid. It shouldn't be a question about it. There shouldn't be a debate about it. And it's so just frustrating. What would you say to actors who feel like they're dealing with this constant resistance with the industry, whether they're an actor behind the camera, in front of the camera, or deciding to embark on this journey of being this multi-hyphenate, being a writer, director, or taking that bar? Like, what would you say to them?
I would say just follow your instincts. Know the stories that you want to tell and want to tell them so passionately and so much that you do anything to get that story out. Mm-hmm. Not anything. I just mean artistically. It's the artistic frustration that should lead to it, not because you want to be famous or anything like that, because those things rarely happen. You have to find satisfaction in the work that you're creating. And I think artists crave that satisfaction. And the only time that I've ever felt it is actually just working and creating the work and being valued for my work. So, I mean, you have to be able to say yes to yourself before you expect other people to say yes to you. And you have to do it because you love it. Like, if you don't love acting, don't be an actor, because it's really hard to get work. And it's so hard to just, even when you're working, like when I was off Broadway, every day, I have to get there every day. Have to get myself there, very low pay, even if it's equity. And, but you have to love the work. And if you don't do that, just don't do it. That if you could do anything else, be anything else. But if you have to do it, then do it. That's the only way to be satisfied in life, right?
I love that. And I would love to know more, Elaine, about how you balance the multi-hyphenate career, because I have a multi-hyphenate career, and that's specifically what I coach. And a lot of times with my clients, they're afraid that if they do other things, it means they don't care about acting. And I explain to them, I want to do acting the most, but we all have different journeys. And I could find work modeling, hosting, and producing, meeting and networking with the right people, keeping acting my focus, but it is hard to balance. So I'd love any advice you have for our listeners about that balance.
And it's so interesting, because why are actors expected to be waiters while they're acting?
I know. They're all like, I have to work at Starbucks to prove that I'm a real actor. I'm like, but then you hate your life.
Exactly.
Unless you like Starbucks, everybody.
Exactly. Now, I didn't go into it like, I want to be a writer. I didn't do that. While I was, I already told you the path to me creating the work and why. It was as an artist. And then while I was acting in my one-woman show on stage, I just, like every other actor, had invited everyone I knew to come see it. Some of those people were agency producers that I had worked with on camera commercials, being the talent. And it was their idea, after having seen the play and knowing my work ethic and really opening their eyes to my humanity beyond acting, is when they said, I want to work with you every day. I just can't hire an actor every day. So what else do you do? I was like, what do you need? PA? You want craft services? Like, whatever. I was open because I wanted to have the ability to show my value and to become indispensable to them. And it was their idea when they said to me, you know, you need casting. Have you ever done casting? And I thought about it for a moment. I thought, you know, I've been in every casting office in New York, some in LA, some in Miami. And I really know a good experience from a bad experience. And there are a lot of bad experiences that I wish that actors didn't have to go through, that I had gone through. And I feel like I could make that change for them and provide this service to them, because it was a Spanish language ad agency. And as someone who was a working actor, I mean, I worked a lot in commercials. That there was no frustration in being a commercial actor for me. That was really my bread and butter. But I was really in tune with who was out there. They were all my friends. I had everybody on speed dial. And that's before I understood the casting platforms that are available to casting producers and directors that I use every day for that work. And how do I choose what I'm doing for the day, and balancing that act is really what is needed today. Like, I just got a call from my editor. When I'm done with this, I have to reach my editor, who's editing my feature film. And last night, I got a casting job. I put it out this morning on Breakdown Services. It's already been released. I will be looking at the submissions. I've already sent it to an agent and said, you want first dibs on it? That was just the last agent that I happen to be working with, who I just booked somebody through. So it's all really, I'm a very good person at connecting the dots in everything that I do and making it all work together and synergistically. And I think you really have to think about it in those terms. Shonda Rhimes wrote a book called The Year of Yes. And it feels like that. Like, say yes to stuff, see where it takes you. And at some point, you just have to start saying no, because you want to maintain a path. So I look at the day as in what's needed today, what needs my most attention today, and where are my hands tied that I can create an opportunity for tomorrow.
So good, because I feel earlier on in the industry, and Janelle and I had this very similar path of being told you can't do anything else but be an actor. Like, focus, that's it. Keep your mind on that, you know, kind of like the racing horse, and it just keep those blinders on. Don't do anything else. And like, you have to live it, breathe it, eat it, and sleep it, and all those things. And we've gotten that multiple times when we've talked to other people. And it just kind of scares me in the root of my core, because I just feel like it limits actors and just creative beings. We're not meant to do just one thing. And storytelling, like you said, you know, your storytelling is told on many different platforms, from directing and writing and casting. Like, how amazing is that?
So that's what you say. You say, you know, I used to say, I do one thing, entertainment. Don't be confused.
Yeah.
I'm a storyteller. So, but my passion is directing. And like, you know, right now I'm rebuilding my website, because I feel like everybody should just constantly make it better.
Yes.
And I think that does pay off, whatever it is that you do, whether it be new headshots, new website, whatever it is, it does pay off. The energy that you're putting out into the universe to be seen and to be heard, and expressing yourself and what you want is important for yourself as well. But I digress on that. On my website, I feel like it's really important that, you know, I'm a director. Am I still an actor? Am I still a casting director? Am I still a writer? Am I still a producer? Yes. But this is my focus, and this is what I want. If I had it my way, like, I just was it a year and a half ago? I was a recurring guest star on an ABC hip hop drama called Queens.
Yeah.
Right? And yeah, it was wonderful, great. And I was there, weeks at a time doing this. And on my days off, I asked if I could shadow the producing director. And she said yes. So I got to do what I do, focus on the work of an actor, as an actor, while I was acting. Never take for granted while I'm there. Accomplish my job, show them that I can do that. But when I was done with like the big monologue scenes, and I proved myself to the AD and the director and the producing director, that's when I felt the confidence that I could ask and not get into anyone's way. So I wouldn't recommend it to like any guest star or any co-star, but if you're a recurring guest star that has days off and you're there anyway, and this is your passion, and you've been doing it, because, by that time I had been directing for a while. I just wanted the opportunity to learn, and those opportunities don't come very often. They're very hard, no matter what level you're at. The competition as a director is as fierce as the competition as an actor.
Yeah, I love that, and I find that people forget that, even for like makeup artists, anybody, for the modeling world, makeup artists have a union, and they're trying to come up too. So you just you're trying to stay in contact with everybody, and Amanda and I are always trying to help each other out. And I think a lot of times with our clients, they're just afraid of asking because, oh, will it be rude? Will I be blacklisted? I don't know. What advice do you have for people that are afraid to ask because they don't want to look bad, or maybe rejection? I mean, we know you don't ask, you don't get it, but we would love for our listeners just maybe some tools whenever they're just afraid to just pull the trigger.
I think it's very important that you know how to ask and how to make it easy for someone to say yes. And then if they don't say yes, to let it go. So I remember the first thing that I ever sold to HBO. Well, the first thing that I ever made was a comedy web series called Reasons Why I'm Single. And I had, through the one woman show, had gotten the attention of HBO. And someone at HBO said, I want to know everything you're doing from now on. So that's why I started creating the web series. I directed out of default, found my passion there. And it was there that after I created the web series, I sent her the first 3 episodes. And she said, this is really good. I'm going to send it up to LA, see what they say. Maybe there's a writing job in it for you. And I thought, this is incredible. This is great. But then I didn't hear back from her. And I didn't want to be the pariah that was rubbing her the wrong way or insisting too much, because if she had good news, she would have called me, right? So, and so I was afraid. I didn't want to hurt the relationship. But for all I know, she just forgot. I didn't know. But I knew that I was on the right path. So I kept creating, and I found someone that I also wanted to support, another Latino filmmaker. And I saw a short film, and I was like, this would make a great web series. Reached out to the filmmaker, said, I produced this web series. I want to produce your thing as a web series. Long story short, we did it. The first episode I sent her, she said the same thing. Let me kick it up to LA, see what they say. Maybe there's a job in it for you. At that point, and maybe because it wasn't my own, or maybe because I had the experience, or maybe because it wasn't my own, I felt selfless in the ask. And I said, I know exactly where this belongs. This belongs on HBO Latino. It should be like, instead of your coming attraction, it should be like interstitial things in between your programs, because HBO's programs were ending like at an hour, 24 minutes, and then they had 6 minutes to fill before the next slot. So I knew the gap that existed that needed to be filled, that I didn't think was being filled to the best of its ability to create programming for that spot. And that's where I said that it was. And she immediately responded to the idea. immediately wrote to somebody and immediately got me a meeting. And within 6 months of that meeting, we were airing on HBO, and I had sold the first season, not just the first season, but the second season as well in advance. And that sort of thing really gave me the confidence. Also, as an aside, I do a lot of charity work. I used to do a cycling event to help kids with autism. I helped a school for autism be built. And it was knowing exactly the amount of square footage of the floor, the ceiling, the fence, exactly what I needed and who had it to give me without any sweat off their brow. As long as I came with those specifics and made it easy to say yes. And if it weren't for me, if it wasn't for my personal gain, that's when I felt the most confident in asking. So find projects like that. And if it feels selfless, it'll probably be easier to ask. And then that's how you get the courage. It's still very difficult. Asking for stuff is still the hardest, but you have to know how to ask and to make people feel confident that you can deliver once they've given, and that, you're passionate about it, because they really they're not supporting the project ever. They're always like appreciating you and how you believe in that project, and whether that be a charity or a film or anything, that's the way that it is.
Gosh, that's incredible. Just specificity, being detailed is really important in your career. And I want to circle back a bit, and then I want to dive into that as well. But, working with clients as well, I've had this fear is, how do you overcome, because you came into this industry knowing that you wanted to be an actor, and then all of a sudden this opened up and you said, well, maybe I could be possibly a director. How do you kind of get rid of that fear? Because I think I had it at some point of like, if I give up being an actor, I'm never going to have this career. Or if I focus on anything else, then I'm taking away from being in that. What is your advice for anyone who's kind of dealing with that dilemma, that confusion, or that fear of giving energy to something else in the industry?
Just do it. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
If you fear something, I don't run away from challenges. I actually run toward them. If it scares me, that's what I want to do. I don't want to do what I've already done and already proven that I can do. That's not growth. I want to do something new and fresh and exciting and try new genres and new things and work with different people. That to me is great. So with directing, I didn't say I wanted to direct. I was an actor that needed to write my own material. I wrote my own material. It made me write more material because I got attention from somebody. On writing that material, I didn't say, I'm going to direct this material now. I actually asked everybody that I knew, every director that I knew, if they would direct this material. But back then, no one trusted what a web series would do for them. There was no awkward black girl. There was, that didn't exist. It was just very new. And it was the only thing that I could afford. But nobody wanted to put their name on or tarnish their name and do something beneath them. So with that, I asked somebody, a new person, I asked everybody, and this one woman that I had done an internship with the New York Women in Film and Television with, she said to me, tell me about it. And I told her, she said, it's clear to me that you are the director. You clearly know what you want. And I had already hired a cinematographer. I already worked with the actors. I actually co-wrote it with somebody from my class at Winhampton Studios. So, and she was one of the actors. I was in it as well. And with that one person telling me, you could do it. This is clear that to me that you are. I was able to see that, because you cannot see yourself clearly. Sometimes you don't see, especially when you're, I grew up in Brownsville, Brooklyn, and I didn't know the opportunities that existed for me that I know now exist. Like, I could have taken so much advantage. I could have started so much earlier. But that woman telling me, you're the director, and then I directed, then I found my passion. I didn't know everything that I needed to know, everything that I know now as a director. I'm still learning and growing every single day. I try to do that every day in everything that I do. But when I landed what I wanted on that screen, seeing the writing come to life, seeing the actors work through it, working with the actors, getting that performance that I knew was in them better than the first time. And then I had to edit my own stuff too. So even learning how to edit and putting it together, all of that was a great satisfaction to my creative soul. And that's why I fell in love with directing. And that's why I wanted to keep directing. And then I got the advice from Rashad Ernesto Green, a great filmmaker who I immensely respect. He said to me, Elaine, if you really want to direct, start directing short films. And every year I made a promise to myself, I'm going to save up. Every year I'm going to make a short film no matter what. And I kept doing that until my short films got better and better. And then I was in all the festivals and finally won South by Southwest. And that's an incredible journey that you had to have taken the journey in order to have experienced the growth. There's no shortcut to that, but you must do it.
Oh, I love that. It's so true when someone sees you or sees things you don't. I remember I was going to work for the Travel Channel and I was so nervous, didn't think I was good enough. I had to win this thing or whatever. And then I eventually ended up hosting for them. But I had a friend that said, you have to win. I was like, okay. And I did. But like she knew I was capable. But I want to ask about your feature film and also thank you for the work that you do for the autism community. My brother has autism. And I have a degree in elementary and special ed. So we have
my daughter as well is a
yeah,
high school teacher, actually.
oh my gosh. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so important.
Yeah.
I love, Joe, my brother's amazing. And I would love to know more about how you adapted your book into a feature film, because eventually I want to turn a documentary about my mother and my brother into a film. And I'm having trouble getting started because that's overwhelming. So we would love to know
some
more
great
about
advice. It's advice that I got studying through the Sundance screenwriting lab. Kimberly Pierce was one of our teachers in that lab. And she said, she did Boys Don't Cry, or I should say they did Boys Don't Cry. And they said, when you're writing a true story, forget about the truth. You want to follow the emotional truth and the action. And then that's how you have a greater story to tell. Because it's the emotion of the story that's really drawing you. And you're being clouded by all these little facts and minutia that you want to get right because you think that's what makes the story right. But it's not. It's the heart. It's like when you meet somebody, you may not remember anything about them except how they made you feel. And that's how, people go to plays. They're like, oh God, I love that play. Yeah, I can't even tell you what it's about. It's been 2 years, but I remember I love it, right? So it's how it made you feel. So that's a great piece of advice when you're adapting material. And sometimes it's easier to adapt other people's material than it is your own. So that's something that I did with my short film Princess Cut that I won the HBO Latinx Director Award for. That's now streaming on HBO Max now. So you can actually see it now, Princess Cut. And that work was adapted by Demetra Karaman's play that I saw at the Hollywood Fringe Festival. It was called Bitch Brown. And it was a dark comedy. And I thought that the work was amazing. The words, the language was incredible. But at the same time, when you're a director, yes, it's about the language, but it's really a visual story. And so I adapted that very heavy dialogue piece with the help of Demetra, of course, into what became Princess Cut, which was not a dark comedy. It was more of a suspense, slow burn, surprising relationship, common ground movie. It was everything that I wanted it to be. And I'm really proud of that. But being able to adapt that material the way I saw it was really special. So that's another thing that I would recommend. Do something a little different to get yourself out of the weeds. And another practice, another thing that I learned from Sundance Lab, I forgot who the teacher was on that, but maybe it was Michelle Satter. And she said, she gave us a photo, the class. She said, now here's a photo, write a story with your characters about this, make it work into that. And that was the greatest gift that I ever had as a creator, even as a director, because what she did was she proposed the visual first. And then I knew the characters and the strength of the characters. And because I knew them so well, I knew how they could be a part of that visual story. And it created a bigger visual story than I had. And that's something that I mean, I still use that today.
That's so inspiring. Wow. I'm like floored and kind of like lost for words because I'm so impressed by your creativity and drive for this industry and passion for storytelling in all the ways that you do. What is it that you hope to leave behind with all the work that you do to inspire maybe the next generation or in years and years to come?
Wow, what a big question. That's like a question for like a 90-year-old. What is it that I hope to leave? Well, I had an art teacher. I love drawing, poetry, writing, art. I was a kid that wrote like rap songs when I was a kid. Poetry. I would get called in to the principal's office because they thought that my poetry was about my life. And sometimes it was, but sometimes it wasn't. Sometimes it was about something that I was seeing or understanding or an episode of Good Times, you know? So I wrote a poem about an episode of Good Times where Janet Jackson was this girl that was being abused by her mother, and I wrote a poem about that. And I was called down to the principal's office because they thought that I was being abused. So it's really funny. So like I said, I was a student of art, painting oil on canvas. And the teacher asked, why do we paint? Why do we paint? Why? And he said, there's only one answer: to prove we exist. And so I took that not just as an artist painting something on canvas, but I feel like everything that I write, especially my films is really what I leave behind. And I feel like they prove I exist, especially when I tell stories that represent me as a kid, which is, I don't see that out there. Me as a Latina in an urban jungle that doesn't fit in, that's not the poster child as you would, think would represent that. So I want to tell those stories. Also, I grew up in one of the densest populations in the US. I think it's like the fourth densest population in the US. It's more dense than like 98% of the US. Just my neighborhood. So because of that, I got to know so many thousands of people in like my block, right? So many thousands of people that in other people's minds, they're just one person. But I got to know individuals living under the same circumstance, under the same umbrella that people are categorizing them in. But each person is so individual. And that to me is a great gift. And being able to take a script, whether it's mine or someone else's, and use the characters that I know in my world, in my life, my experiences, to infuse the truth of that. That's really very special. And I think every director is always doing that. They're always putting a face to or putting a character in their head that they know of. This is like this person. This is like this person. Oh, this like this relationship. Okay, this is like when this instance happened, and that's really very special. And to have the breadth of valuing humans in the way that I do, I think it's in my work and everything that I do. So that's what I really want to leave behind. That's all I can leave behind, right?
So good, so good. What is it that you're working on now? Because you talked about a feature film. Can you share?
Yeah. So I just wrapped my second feature film.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm very happy about that. And it's in post-production right now. I am titling it, but I'm not releasing the title yet because I want it to be fresh and new when people hear the name, and I love the name. It's very meaningful and special and incites curiosity, and provokes curiosity of it. And it's very urban, so I love the title. Anyway, that's in post. Hopefully I'll have a cut in March or April, and then I'll start submitting to try to get more post-production grants. So I'm always working on grants. I'm always working on like the work that pays. And then I'm always creating. Right now I have 2 pilots. I've one that I finished writing and the other one that I'm only on page 7 on, but I really am enjoying it. And I call it a pilot. It started out feeling like a film. And then as I started writing, I was like, oh, this is a great story that I could tell forever. And it's not like I was trying for it to be that. It's just that's what it's turning out to be. So I just, I use the time that I have, the spare time that I have creating. I'm a part of a writer's group. I'm always doing that. And I'm always looking for the next opportunity. I have meetings all the time. I'm going to be attending Content America. I would love for somebody to believe in my eye enough to say, we're going to put some money into what you want to do. And then I would like to use that money to not just for myself to be able to create the stories that I want and to direct and produce those stories, but I also want to point at people that I know already, that I know have it and just don't have the opportunity. And I want to be able to make these names of tomorrow in acting, in directing, in producing, in writing, because our community, the Latino community specifically, needs it more than any other because we're so under-indexed and underrepresented on screen and behind the camera, in the writing, in every single way. So that would be really special to me to be able to do. And that's something that I hope that my work, my body of work, helps me to be able to create in the future in general, like just make that happen for other people and myself.
Yes, I love that you're an advocate in all the ways for voices not being heard and pushing that forward. So thank you for doing all that you're doing.
Oh, there's so many people. So there's so much talent out there. I know it. I see it. I believe in it. I tell them. I work with them. I help them. I do free casting for them. I help them raise money. Sometimes I give them money. It's like there's so many people out there that just, they haven't had the benefit of going to USC, NYU, AFI like me.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that scholarships were available to me, and I was a kid that lived on welfare.
Mm.
How didn't I know that?
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And yeah, I know because I wish I would have known all these things growing up in the Bronx. Like there was no outlet for this creative expression to be nurtured in the schools. And I wish I had that. And that's my hope moving forward, is that I can do that for the next generation as well. I just wish I did. My mom did it for me, but in the schools, it wasn't supported. You were this kind of robotic child that went into school, you learned what you learned. And if you learned different, something was wrong with you, you were ridiculed for it. And it's just such a special thing that you're recognizing all of them and creating this path for those creatives, not just, being an actor.
I also want to say, like, you don't have to be just a creative. I mean, I was a straight A student. I was like, in the 4th grade, I was reading on a 9th grade level.
Wow.
Like, I was always like the the gifted child. I was in the math team and stuff like that. So you don't have to just be seen as a creative to be a creative. The creative in me it wasn't encouraged. And so I never, I waited too long. I mean, yeah, I was in school plays. My dad was a musician. My dad was a singer-songwriter. All those things were in me. But in school, I was really excelling in the work, in the math, reading, writing, all of that stuff was still working for me. But I still think that creativity needs to be encouraged in every way, and just you need to be able to be exposed to things in order to know who you are and to know where you want to go. Without that exposure, there's, you're just living in a closed world, which is what places like Brownsville, Brooklyn, places all around the country and all around the world are. It's just you only know what's in front of you. And it's really the exposure that helps you become more worldly and understand the opportunities and expand your own faith in what you can accomplish.
Wow. Very powerful. I almost want to end it right there because that was just so good. And I think I will. Elaine, thank you so much for sharing your inspirational story, your background, your gravitas. You have such an energy that is almost I'm not even addicting. What's the word? There's a word for it, like enticing. There we go. I'm gonna say like enticing. I think that's a good way of putting it. I'm not that great of a voice of that, but and again, just thank you because I've seen your work many times. I saw you on Instagram, and I just had to reach out and talk to you. I was telling Janelle, I was like, we got to get her on the podcast like ASAP right now because
Thank you. I appreciate it. Sometimes talking like this, it just helps me to be seen as well. So I appreciate if you want to ask me questions. I'm grateful for that opportunity, but also I understand that it takes time away from other things. So it's a balancing act. So I do appreciate you seeing me and wanting to hear what I have to say. Thank you.
Of course. And how can people connect with you and reach out to you to keep up?
Yeah, best way is Instagram. Yep. My name, Elaine Del Valle, director.
I love
is my Instagram tag. And yeah, if you want to reach out to me, definitely through there. I don't necessarily accept unsolicited materials for, if you're an actor and you want to be cast in something, you have to just put yourself in the casting director's shoes and say how many actors are reaching out to that person all the time. Mm-hmm. It's very hard to keep track. So I often say to actors, the best time to reach me is when I'm casting something that's absolutely right for you. Mm. So you can see that on Actors Access. You get the alerts, make sure your profiles match. And when it's right for you, hit me up. Hit me up on Instagram, submit yourself. I'll see you. There's always a room for a note. Hey, Elaine, I saw you on such and such. I'm going to send you the audition. Then the audition is yours. Then you just, and I listen to, watch hundreds of auditions all the time. So that's as an actor trying to reach me as a casting director. If you're someone who wants to tell a story and thinks like you have it in you and you have a great story, you have to put yourself in the writer's position as well. Why would that writer want to tell your story when they could tell their own? Mm. When they could tell their mothers, their fathers, their brothers, somebody who they care about. So you have to think about that as well. And just, be respectful. As an actor, reach my agent. As a director, reach my agent. And that's really the best way to do it.
Thank you so much. All right, thank you everybody so much for joining us for this amazing episode of Mindset Artistry, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
What are your thoughts about this episode?
Drop it in the comments and let us know what you want to dive into next.
Subscribe, like, share, and click the link below to book a free consultation. And
we'll see you next time.